And it is Rooted in Sports Super Bowl Sunday pre-show. We had to. I'm over here sweating. We had to bless you guys. We had to bless you guys really quick. Nice little 2-hour special show. This is also our 1 year anniversary.
Yes,
So
sir.
I'm happy to be here with my
Beautiful
boy
thing.
Swan
Beautiful
Dunn.
thing. Yes, sir.
What's
Yes,
up, man?
sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Big day today. Got the Super Bowl coming up, so we're gonna go ahead and tackle this thing. This is also our 1 year anniversary show. It was at this point last year that we did a Super Bowl pre-show / our initial show. And it's been a great year. It's been fun. And the show will go on. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So much love. God bless. Before we even hold on, I'm gonna let you get to we're gonna go to the intro and then I'll come back. But yeah, I'm excited about today, man, for sure.
Most definitely. Let's go ahead and get to the intro and let's get into the action.
Word.
And just like that, we are back. And man, I guess, just really getting ready for, I think what's going to be a very interesting matchup between the Chiefs and the Eagles. A lot of different storylines we can discuss. And you guys, we're going to have some a few guests on coming on today and just give their takes on what they think the outcome will be and some of the X factors of the game. But hey, Swan, you can start it out. I know we got a few storylines we can discuss, but talk to me about some of the things that you've looked at in the last week.
So I was thinking about this a lot, and obviously there's some of the smaller things. Obviously, Andy Reid in the Super Bowl coaching against his former team. We got a first time ever in Super Bowl history. We got a pair of brothers facing off against each other with Travis and Jason. But you know what? It really just over the last week, honestly, the thing that's came to mind and the name that's came to mind is Patrick Mahomes. And so I think one of the biggest storylines coming from this game, and it's crazy that we're saying this already, but here's Patrick Mahomes in year 5, I believe now. And
year 6.
Excuse me. Technically, year 6.
Something like that. Yeah.
But here we are, on the precipice of another Super Bowl. And if Patrick Mahomes wins this Super Bowl, we really have to seriously talk about and consider already where Patrick Mahomes should rank amongst the great quarterbacks in this league. Because we're talking about a guy, and congratulations to him on winning MVP the other day, which we all knew, kind of a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
Considering the season he's had. But, we're talking about a guy who in 5 seasons has every major accolade that you can have for a quarterback in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? Lead the league in passing yards, lead the league in passing touchdowns, multiple 5,000-yard passing seasons, an MVP, a Super Bowl ring, a Super Bowl appearance, a regular season MVP, Super Bowl MVP, right. Multiple Super Bowl appearances in just 6 years. Every year he's been a starter. He's never been out before the AFC Championship game. Every year, the minimum, the standard is AFC Championship for him, and just his 6th season, his 5th as a starter. So I think that was the biggest thing. Really, just kind of came to me over this past week, and just really like coming to appreciate his greatness, and really just seeing, if he comes out on top in this game. Already, we have to really discuss, like, okay, where do we put this guy? You know what I'm saying? So I think for me, that might be the biggest storyline in this game, is just amongst many, but just Patrick Mahomes and the outcome of this game, and if he was to come out on top, where do we rank him all time at that moment?
And I don't know if you remember me saying this. He is the Terrell Davis of quarterbacks. And if anybody remembers Terrell Davis, running back for the Denver Broncos in the mid to late 1990s.
What's up, Bo?
What's
Glad
up,
to see
brother?
you.
They said Lamar for Super Bowl MVP. Sure.
Anywho, no.
Right. But Terrell Davis accomplished everything a running back could accomplish, and he did it in about 5 to 6 years.
Mhm.
Right. I think he played less than 10 years in the National Football League. He had, obviously, injuries kind of got the better of him towards the end of that 90s run. But that is what we're seeing Patrick Mahomes do at the quarterback position, and it's to the point right now. Obviously, we're discussing where he would be ranked historically. I think he's kind of putting himself in that top 5 conversation. But right now, he's already a walk-in first ballot Hall of Famer. He doesn't have to play football ever again in his life because we just have never seen anybody get off to this kind of start. He won an MVP as a starter.
I am so glad you said that because I was actually having that debate. I think it was right after championship weekend. I was actually having that debate with someone, and he was just saying, basically his argument was that Patrick Mahomes just hasn't played long enough. And I was like, okay, what more, him playing longer, what more does he have to do? There's guys that's been in the league, 15, 16, 17 years, quarterbacks, never reached one Super Bowl, have never thrown for 5,000 yards once in their life, have never touched 40, 50 touchdowns in a season.
And some guys have never been to a game.
And are in the Hall of Fame.
Right. Never been to a championship game.
A guy who has literally accomplished every single thing that you could do as an NFL quarterback. He's reached the highest of highs already. And he still has a good 10 to 12 years left in his prime. He's still really young.
I think he's going to get to a place. I was arguing with somebody about this the other day. I think he's going to get to a point, maybe year 10 or year 12. Here King goes. Year 10 or year 12, where he's just like, look, man, I got a family. I got kids. Like, what am I playing for? I think I don't know. I think it's a lot different to compare him to Tom. It's a lot different. Tom probably got better as years went along. Tom didn't really become an MVP caliber type till year
07. Yeah.
He had been in the league for a while now. So I try to tell people like that, like, you got to realize Tom's career trajectory was so different because he was a game manager his first 3 to 4 years in the league. And then he became a high volume passer when he was like year 7, year 8. And say what we want to say about Peyton. People love Peyton. Peyton wasn't very good his first 4 years. He was good in the regular season, terrible in the postseason. They hung with him. They hung with him, and obviously he went ahead and he took that next jump and won a Super Bowl in 2006. So, yeah, man, like I said, it's really exciting to see Patrick Mahomes doing the things that he's doing. But I have to look at another storyline. Obviously, where Patrick Mahomes is back for the 3rd time in the Super Bowl. But Jalen Hurts, who has overcome a lot of adversity to become the franchise quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, is also in the Super Bowl as well. And this is going to be our first time seeing 2 African American or black, however you want to classify it, 2 black quarterbacks in the Super Bowl. And I, just knowing the history I know of the National Football League, Doug Williams being the first quarterback to win the Super Bowl championship, Warren Moon, who I actually got the pleasure to meet on vacation earlier last year. These guys were trailblazers, and now they can look. You look at the league now, and there are a bunch of guys that look like us playing quarterback.
There are.
So what are your thoughts on how impactful do you think this is for the culture?
This is huge, man. And I'm glad you mentioned that because I think that in these guys, in both of these 2 quarterbacks, and I'm gonna specifically use I'm gonna hone in a little more on Jalen Hurts when I say this. With both of these quarterbacks, you see 2 guys who are kind of breaking the mold or breaking the stigma. Because a lot of times, and I'm going to just say it, a lot of times when we hear about black quarterbacks, innately, it's just a stigma that's attached to them that's automatically thought they're an athlete. and
Right.
not necessarily a quarterback. It's innately thought that they're not as cerebral as others or whatever,
Mhm.
from the quarterback position.
Right.
And it's also been kind of a thing that these athletes, so to speak, or these mobile quarterbacks can't be successful or can't win a Super Bowl. And now don't get me wrong, Patrick Mahomes, although he is very mobile, people respect his arm and his
Of
arm
course.
talent. You know what I'm saying? I
Mhm.
think coming into this season with Jalen Hurts, there were a lot of questions about his arm, and even still now, even though I think he's
Grown.
vastly improved.
Right.
But even still now, there are still questions about him a little bit, in the pocket. But
Mhm.
he's so dangerous with his feet as well. And I think with the both of them, I think it's important, and especially with Jalen Hurts, is that he has an opportunity to kind of break the mold and say, hey, a mobile quarterback can be successful in this league. A quarterback who's really extremely dangerous with his feet, who is game plan into a scheme with his feet, can win a Super Bowl. And I think
Right.
that's important moving forward. Secondly, I think that it's a great sign to all the youth that are coming up, whether they're still in college or in high school, pee wee football or whatnot. It's important for them to see these two African American quarterbacks and say to themselves, hey, I can do this. I can get to that highest level. I can be successful at that highest level. I can win a Super Bowl ring. So that's another really great storyline. Really, I remember how proud I felt, and it might have partly been because my Bears were in that Super Bowl. But I remember how proud I
Yeah.
felt when we had the first two black coaches, when with the Colts and the Bears, and Lovie
Mhm.
Smith and Tony Dungy, and then
Right.
Tony
That's
Dungy
big.
ultimately becomes the first black head coach to win the Super Bowl. I remember how proud I felt then, and there's a similar sense of pride now to see these two awesome young black men, both with stand up character guys. Like, I
Mhm.
mean, to see Jalen Hurts, and a lot of what's happened with Jalen Hurts
Mhm.
at college and here in the pros was so public.
Very,
You know,
very humble. He's a very humble guy.
very humble guy, very really
Mhm.
spiritual dude, and he's taken all. It's amazing to me to see him take his bumps publicly, but take them in stride. People seeing this kid rise to the mountaintop and fall and rise back again. And he's just been humble the whole time. He's handled it as exemplary as you can ask for. And yeah, man, I'm rooting for both of these guys. Like this,
Mhm.
and ultimately we'll get to our predictions, but this is a tough one right here.
And I'll say something else, and this is something I always have to, as a black man, I have to call out the black community, because I think that the biggest thing about this matchup is representation across the entire black community. You look at a guy, and once again here, this is rooted in sports. We don't have to, we don't have to be careful or tiptoe around this topic. But you look at
We're
a
gonna
guy
talk
like
that
Pat.
talk.
We gonna talk that talk. But you look at both black men, both young black men, but very different. Whereas Pat is of mixed descent. His mother is white and his father's black. And in the black community, usually 8 times out of 10, we'll usually push people like that away, right? Because of his upbringing. And if you look at Pat, obviously it's not like he grew up in the hood or anything like that, but he is another representation of what a black man is, whether people
Right.
want to accept that or not. Even though he has his wife is white, whatever, but he embraces that he's an African American quarterback. And then you look at somebody like Jalen Hurts, who is full black, that went to Alabama, that is a black Greek, that is more representative of maybe what the black community is used to. But guess what? Both of them are both black men, whether we want to admit it or not. So that's why I think it's so big representation. You get two black men so very different, but at the end of the day, they're both representing the same race. And I don't want to make this a race thing, but for years and years and years and years, we watched. We idolized Tom Brady's, we idolized Peyton Manning's, we idolized Drew Brees, we idolized John Elway's, and now for the first time, kids that look like us can watch the Super Bowl or watch sports period and be like, man, like I can do that. So
yeah, they don't have to just go after the skill positions. They don't have to be just honed into I want to be this running back or this wide receiver or this
Mhm.
cornerback. You know what I'm saying? They can play the quarterback position with pride and have that confidence that they can be good enough to reach the ultimate level at that position.
And it's almost crazy because if you look at I bet you if we'd have had this if I'd have went back if I jump into a time machine going to past, hey, about 40, 50 years from now, the most of the top 10 or 15 quarterbacks going to be black. They're like,
Oh, the 40.
that can't be true.
I'm not even gonna say that long. I can see in the next 10 to 15 years. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
I mean, if you look at now, though, most of the
Mhm.
top 10 or 15, I'm saying now. I'm saying if I go to the past and I tell them what now
Oh,
it looks
oh,
like,
oh, yeah.
they're
Oh,
gonna
oh,
be
oh,
like,
oh, oh.
yeah, yeah, they're gonna be like, oh, you ever seen the Boondocks? They said he can't. You tell what it can't be true, and they screaming and stuff.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, so like I said, that's just a very, very, very exciting storyline. But then we also get two other simple ones. We talked about Travis and Jason Kelce, the Kelce brothers, who to me are such a man, like they're really good for the NFL.
They are.
From
I know
media,
their parents are torn today.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. From a media standpoint, and I mean, let's be honest, how often do we get to see two brothers that are both first ballot Hall of Fame players type of guys?
Exactly. Yes,
Like,
sir.
and here's the crazy part. Not only are they both first ballot type of guys, they're both etching their names and putting themselves in best ever conversation.
Yeah.
Jason Kelce is putting himself in best center of all time conversation.
And
And
and and Travis has absolutely put himself in that conversation.
and that's something, yeah. So we're seeing these guys who we know they have a great podcast, very fun to watch,
Mhm.
and then they're just big characters on the field, both very, very funny. And I also like that they're so different. They're
Yeah.
both from
Yeah.
Ohio. Travis is a little bit more. You can tell he kicked it with the brothers a lot.
Mhm.
And then Jason's a little bit more. More like a normal white guy, if I could go ahead and say it.
Right.
But like I said, just very fun to see these guys match up. And I mean, both of them have already won Super Bowls. This is
Exactly.
crazy, right? This is like you
Exactly.
don't. This isn't normal. You don't see this very often.
And I'll tell you something else that I'm looking at too, as far as the actual game, as far as the storyline for the actual game. Health issues. How healthy or close to 100% will Patrick Mahomes be with the ankle? Will he be able to get out of the pocket? Will he be a little more mobile than we seen him be in the AFC Championship game? Because we did see him kind of limping around a little bit. It was obvious he wasn't 100%. On the
Right.
flip side, same with Jalen Hurts in the shoulder. How good is that shoulder? How good is that shoulder going to be? Will we see Philly kind of game plan around that? Because I feel like in the NFC Championship game, and it may have just been their game plan from jump, but I felt like they really made, and I know that's who they are, but I feel like they made an even more of a concerted effort to really just kind of run the ball. You look at Jalen Hurts passing numbers in that NFC Championship game, and they didn't blow you away, but they
Not at all.
obviously they're extremely physical team, and they made a habit of what I'm saying, getting the run started in that game. So I think it's going to be interesting to see the health of those two guys who are arguably the two most important players in this game.
And you know what? Since you brought up health, let's talk about X factors. Because when you look at this game, man, it's funny because he's just like a white guy.
Bro.
I mean, am I lying? He is more. Jason Kelce is
Yeah,
like
Jason. Yeah,
yeah. Whereas Travis, like
yeah.
you can
He
tell
went in, yeah.
Travis was kicking it with the brothers, man. But
For real.
looking at X factors, it's funny because I look at this matchup and on paper the Eagles are the better team, but you can't help but dismiss championship DNA. The Chiefs are used to being on the big stage, right? And a lot of these guys have been on this roster for a lot of these AFC championships and for the last Super Bowl trip. So who do you think are the X factors of this game? Let's start with the Chiefs. You can tell me who you have. I'll tell you who I have.
So with the Chiefs, I didn't necessarily hone in on one player, and
Uh-huh.
actually you're gonna see this with both of my picks.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't necessarily hone in on one player, but more so one unit,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the front four there for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Right.
We saw them in the AFC Championship game against Cincinnati. We saw them, and in particular, Chris Jones. We saw them get pressure after pressure after pressure. I believe they had 4 sacks already in the first quarter in that game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we seen them really, really get after Joe Burrow. And so I wonder if they can kind of replicate that for this here Super Bowl. Because for me personally, if there's this Kansas City defense, although they've improved, they're not great. And I personally believe that their secondary is probably
questionable.
The secondary is
very questionable.
And seeing the offensive weapons that we know, the 2 wide receivers that Philadelphia has on their team, I think it would do them a great service if the Kansas City Chiefs are able to really get some pressure up front on Jalen Hurts and knock him on the floor a little bit, really make it tough for him to get those guys the ball.
But I will say this, though. He did stand up for that Cincinnati matchup. I will have to give that secondary credit. And I think Cincinnati has a better wide receiving core. And they stood up for that game.
Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah,
but and no shade on them, but I think it helped when they know, okay, hey, Joe Burrow is probably only going to have a good 3 seconds to get this ball.
Oh, of course. The pressure is different. Yeah, I agree.
Chris Jones might have had the game of his career, a couple weeks ago in that AFC Championship game, man. I mean, he brought it.
And he was actually, it's funny, you bring him up. He is who I said he's one of the X factors. I said that for the Chiefs to ultimately win this football game, because Philly has the number 1 offensive line in the league right now. Right. Yep. You could argue them or Detroit, but obviously Detroit didn't make the playoffs. So Chris Jones is going to really have, and not just him. Obviously, you got George Karlaftis, the rookie, Frank Clark, some of the other guys that they have, playing the defensive tackle position that are going to have to step up. But Chris Jones is that, we like to call him war daddies. He's that war daddy on that defensive line, the guy that they have to move around like a chess piece, and he has to take over that matchup. He's going to have to give Jason Kelce probably some of the best looks he's had. But I'll tell you this, and I pride myself on knowing all the facts. I looked up and I had no goddamn idea that the Chiefs were 2nd in the league in sacks. Like, they beat my Cowboys. I didn't realize that. So towards the end of the season, they had this surge where that pass rush really did heat up. And remember, I mentioned the kid. I didn't think George Karlaftis was going to pick it up this fast. He's been playing really good ball.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah. A steal that they got last year late in the first round.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Purdue kid. So they have the pieces, but you're right. That front 4, specifically Chris Jones, is going to have to step up. But on the offensive side of the ball, I'll tell you a guy who I think is going to be so crucial to Kansas City getting mismatches in this game. Mm-hmm. And that's Kadarius Toney. And
ironically, he was the same offensive X factor that I had.
Because, we've seen Andy Reid play with him a little bit. Obviously he's been battling some injury-prone type of guy. But his speed, athleticism, and his versatility in the way that Andy Reid can use him, I'm excited to see what he comes up with. Because what we have to remember is Mecole Hardman is not playing in this game. He got ruled out. He got ruled out like a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
So you're going to see Kadarius Toney and maybe a Sky Moore get a little bit more of those looks. But don't be – one thing we know about Andy Reid is Andy Reid got a bag of tricks.
Oh, yeah.
So he's going to reach in. He's going to find all these different ways to use Kadarius Toney and get him open. And to tell you the truth, he's just so athletic that it's a terrible mismatch on anybody with. Yeah.
And I wonder, I also wonder how Philly will kind of scheme that thing, because we talked about defensively in the game Chris Jones had. On the other end, MVS, Valdes-Scantling, he had himself a day 2 on the offensive end in that AFC Championship game. And so that's another reason why, as far as an offensive X factor, I looked at Kadarius Toney as well, because I kind of wonder what type of attention will MVS draw now, seeing that he just had, that good of a game in the AFC Championship game. But we know Patrick Mahomes, he don't care. He's going to spread that ball around.
And here's an interesting thing. MVS had that big game. Remember, a lot of Kansas City's receivers had gotten hurt. Juju Smith-Schuster had gotten hurt.
Yep.
And you know, a lot of people don't like first USC guy, so I'm always gonna climb on top of the Empire State Building and beat on my monkey chest. That's never gonna change. But Juju Smith-Schuster is a very well-rounded, versatile receiver. You could put him in a slot; he's gonna handle his business. You could put him at the X or the Y. He understands. He has such a great knowledge of how to run routes, how to beat zones. So don't be surprised if they put Juju Smith-Schuster inside as a big slot and you see him lean on a smaller Avonte Maddox and try to take advantage of some of those matchups. So you're going to get him back for this game. We're not even going to mention, we know Travis Kelce is going to Travis Kelce, right?
And that's the thing too. I expect them to kind of help over the top there. I don't know if they necessarily have. I mean, okay, you could, you know, in spot C maybe Gardner Johnson or one of these guys maybe take on Travis Kelce, but I don't think they necessarily have that linebacker like how we seen against Kansas City when they played Kansas City in the Super Bowl and they let the linebacker up. I don't know why.
You talking about
Levante David. How we kind of seen Tampa Bay kind of allow Levante David to really kind of hang with Kelce one-on-one, and he did a phenomenal job. I don't know if Philadelphia has any linebacker of that caliber to do that. And so I really feel like, you know, they're gonna kind of try to zone them in and really just have that help over the top, because I don't know if they have any one matchup that they really want guarding Travis Kelce.
And you know what? I'm glad you brought that up. That's a phenomenal point, because I think what people don't realize is that it takes a certain player, and it's not just linebacker, this could be safety as well. It takes a certain body type and a certain skill set to be able to cover tight ends. You have to be,
especially one of Travis Kelce's size. And don't get it twisted now.
He's physical.
He's a physical guy, and he's a pretty damn good route runner. Okay.
Oh, like,
he's pretty damn nimble with foot. You know.
So I agree. So it's like you look at the Cincinnati matchup. Say whatever you want to say. I'm gonna tell you a very underrated guy, Vonn Bell. Vonn Bell can match up with a Travis Kelce, even though he's not tall. He has some length, and he's a physical guy that's used to matching up with tight ends. You know, Philly doesn't really have that type of guy, so you're gonna have to look at maybe a Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to fill that void and match up with Travis Kelce one-on-one, and that's who the X factor I picked defensively for the Philadelphia Eagles, because I think that's going to be such a crucial matchup. Travis Kelce, this is one thing I love about Andy Reid. First of all, this is what I love about all top tier elite play callers. All top tier elite play callers have their guy, and they literally have committed. They said, we don't care what you're going to do, you're not going to take him away.
Yeah,
you can stop everybody else, you're not going to take him away. We watch McVay do it with Cooper Kupp last year. You know, we've seen, and then that's how Andy Reid is with Travis Kelce. It's like every week he's going to find a way to spring him open. So that's why that matchup is going to be very crucial. I got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. He's going to have probably the game of his life. He's able to roam free and get picks. Like, you're going to have to get in there in the mud and cover this guy.
Oh, yeah. So for the Philadelphia Eagles, crazy enough, you know, on the defensive side for the Chiefs, I had their defensive front. And so for the Eagles, as my X factor defensively, I actually have their defensive front. I was looking at some things, and I didn't notice, and we're talking about sacks. And you mentioned how the Kansas City Chiefs ended the season second in total sacks. I didn't notice until I was kind of looking some things up earlier. The Philadelphia Eagles have 4 guys who had double-digit sacks.
Yes, they do.
Like, that is insane.
Stupid.
That is insane. And I know we talked about it over the past couple of weeks. You know, as far as that front 4, I mean, between Sweat and Hargrave and Graham and Reddick, you know what I'm saying? They still got Jordan Davis. They got
Fletcher Cox.
Robert Quinn, they have 7 or 8 guys who have been double-digit sack guys in this league. You know what I'm saying? Right. They have guys who have been Pro Bowlers and all pros in this league, and they're
Mhm.
just circling these guys in like it's nothing. And so they were my X factor as far as the Philadelphia Eagles defense, and just wondering if they'll be able to get that same amount of pressure on Patrick Mahomes, really make him have to be more mobile than Cincinnati did, because I feel like in the AFC Championship game, I really think the Kansas City Chiefs did a pretty good job as far
They
as
did a
protecting
really good
Patrick
job.
Mahomes. We only really seen him really truly have to abandon ship and get out the pocket really kind of that one time, and that was on that ultimate play that they got the penalty on, they got them in field goal range. But other than
Mhm.
that, I think they did a really good job protecting him. And so they're my X factor as far as Philadelphia's defense, that front four, and just seeing if they can really apply pressure to Patrick Mahomes and, give him a little trouble there.
No, and you make a good point. This is going to be a different unit for Kansas City that they're going to have to block, and that's where the question mark. Yeah, I'm not even going to listen to King. King is just on some nonsense.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he does. Anywho, yeah. That's an argument we have all the time. But this is going to be a different unit for them to cover because they have that depth, but they have guys that can beat you in so many different ways. Speaking of them having 4 different double-digit sack guys, Brandon Graham is a chess piece on that defensive line. Like he plays that strong side defensive end spot, but it's nothing for them on third down to kick him down to defensive tackle, and you might have him and a Fletcher Cox rushing inside. You got Josh Sweat, who's a long, lanky, like explosive rush in, and then also you got Reddick coming from that strong side linebacker position, who sometimes they either blitz as a true off-ball linebacker, or they let him put his hand in the dirt and rush over one of the tackles.
Reddick led the league in sacks this year.
He was second, I think.
1 or 2.
He was second. He
had about 18 and a half,
second.
19 and a half, something like that.
I think he had 17 and a half. I think he was right behind Nick Bosa. But if you look at like the past 6 to 8 weeks, he's led the league in sacks, like even more than Nick Bosa in the last 6 to 8 weeks. So he's come on hot. This is a Philly defense that doesn't really have very many true weaknesses from a positional standpoint. You could probably look at linebacker, but even then, their linebackers are just weak in comparison to the rest of the unit, right? These are both. I mean, Kaiser White is a really good athletic linebacker. And then you got was it TJ Edwards, who has 130, 140 plus tackles. So these are guys that understand how to play within the scheme. This unit understands who they are. Secondary wise, they got probably one of the best corner duos in Darius Slay and James Bradbury. And then
I love Darius Slay. I think he's probably the most underrated cornerback in this league, man. And he has been for some years. I love Darius Slay. And
I like him because he's not, even though, we look at some of these corners and, some of them are very cocky and very arrogant, very boastful. Yeah. Darius is not like that. He's very humble. Don't get me wrong. He's competitive, but he's very humble. He's very humble, and I think that's just because of his role, to making it and to becoming the corner that he is now. And then James Bradbury was a cast off from the Giants. They released him.
Yep.
And he's had a very, really good season. Should have been a Pro Bowl or All-Pro guy. And in secondary wise, they got Mike Epps. I mean, safety wise, they got Mike Epps and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Slot, they got Avonte Maddox, who's one of my favorite guys. I like Avonte Maddox.
Right.
So this is going to be a different unit for that Kansas City Chiefs offense to really match up with, because there's not very many weaknesses. Now, I'll look for Philly. I know we got a few more minutes. Philly on the offensive side of the ball, the X factor. And to me, it has to be Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith, I mean, obviously we know he shows up. He was a 1,000-yard guy, so he's been pretty consistent. But this is going to be a game where he's really going to have to imprint and make his presence known, because they're going to put a lot of resources towards shutting down A.J. Brown. They're not going to let A.J. Brown act the damn fool, So they're going to – you might see them have a similar game plan against Cincinnati with Jamar Chase. They weren't going to let Jamar Chase wreck the game. So they might do some of the same things with A.J. Brown, slide some coverages his way. They're going to have a safety over the top, maybe put a linebacker in that zone. So it's Devontae Smith is really going to have to take advantage of one-on-one matchups, and once again, he's going to have to be the guy this game. I could easily say, I'll tell you this, I could easily say Jalen Hurts because he's not going to get away with the stat line he had in the NFC Championship. Not in this game.
Agreed.
Yeah. But, I mean, you can tell me what you think.
So for me, my X factor as far as the Philadelphia Eagles offense, I actually had I'm gonna say my first X factor, and I didn't want to hone in on running back because they all seem to have their games, but I'm gonna just say the running back core there of Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, who we seen have a really solid game, and then Boston Scott when they choose to slip him in there. I think for the Philadelphia Eagles to be successful, I think they're going to have to be the more physical team of the two. And I think that they can do that. But I think it'll start with their running game. We talked about their offensive line, and we know some of the names there with Kelce and Lane Johnson, everything up front. We both agree that they probably have the best offensive line, in the NFL. And so with that being said, I think that it's important for them to really come out and establish control, establish them being the more physical of the two teams, establish their dominance as far as the running game. And I really think that coming into this game, I really think in that first possession, you're going to really see them, make a concerted effort to really run the ball. So that's one of my X factor. I couldn't hone in on one running back. I wanted to just say Miles Sanders. But like I said, considering the game Will just had, I wanted to say just that running back core. And then I'm going to say another name. You mentioned the type of attention that A.J. Brown is probably going to get and how that could possibly open some things up for your X factor, Devontae Smith. I'm going to mention another name, and that's Dallas Goedert. Don't be surprised if you see him catch, 4 or 5 balls. Don't be surprised if you see him get involved around the red zone. So I think it'll be really huge for them if he could come up big and, get a few catches and be that chain mover that they may need.
And Dallas Goedert said something, obviously this week leading up to the Super Bowl. He said, this is an opportunity for me to put my name up there with the elite guys in the league at tight end. Even though I already felt like he's a top 10 guy, I think in his mind, he's like, no, I'm there with Mark Andrews. I'm up there with Travis Kelce and George Kittle. So I think
he's just as talented as those guys.
Oh, he is. I think he has to be a little, he has to stay on the field a little bit more because he's kind of an injury-prone type of guy. But once again, he has all the ability in the world, both from a blocking and receiving standpoint, to be a huge factor in this game. So no, I agree. That definitely is a huge factor in this game. But then one other thing, and I guess we'll do this before we go ahead and bring our guest on, is looking at coaching. We know Andy Reid is I say the greatest offensive mind that this game has ever seen, and it's just because he's been able to evolve with the times. That's very difficult. A lot of coordinators have a good 3-4 year run. The NFL catches up to them, and then they're done. Andy Reid has managed to stay relevant. And then we look on the defensive side, Spags. What I love about Spags? It's not like he has the most special or significant scheme, but he knows how to get pressure. By rain, sleet, or snow, he's gonna blitz his ass off, and he's gonna find a way to get pressure on the quarterback. And I think that's gonna be another crucial part of this game with Philly's offensive line. See what Spags has, what he's gonna come up with, And then for Philly, you have guys who are a little bit unproven. Nick Sirianni has completely, he proved me wrong. Yeah. I
think he was talking about how he not hard feelings, but I think he was talking about how he had a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, as far as not being chosen to be on Andy Reid's staff. He's talking about that, yeah.
Yeah. So no, it's definitely gonna be big. And then the defensive coordinator for the Eagles, I'm forgetting his last name, but Asaph will be on, so he'll tell me. But he's done a really good job with that unit. But so we have our guest Asaph. It's crazy because I got a lot of love for this guy, but it's a love-hate relationship because he's an Eagles fan and I'm a Cowboys fan. So we'll always be to true to form will be mortal enemies, but once again, there's some love in there. So he's going to come on, and I guess he's going to explain to us why he feels like Philadelphia should win. I don't know, man. I mean,
I'm sure he got his Eagles in this game. There's no doubt about it.
Who knows? We'll see if he's going to be a homer today. Let's bring him on. Brother, what's going on?
Yo, what's happening?
How you doing, man? How's it going?
What is that? What is that you're wearing?
He said, "Fly Eagles, fly." He said, "Don't play no games,
fly, baby." I mean, come on. I got the Wolverine jersey on, man. I got the
Weapon X jersey on.
I got a Weapon X jersey on. You know how I got to do, man. I got to represent the birds, bro. I got to represent the birds. It's an important day for us, you know. How y'all doing?
It is.
We all good, man. We definitely appreciate you coming on with us today, man, on our pre-show / 1 year anniversary show, man. We definitely appreciate you.
Thank you, man. Thank you for bringing me on. It's always a fun time with you guys.
Oh yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, you were on our initial show last year.
He sure was. Him and Justin.
You and Justin, man. So to bring you back again, man, just to come full circle, man, is awesome, man. I just want to ask you, how excited are you about your Philadelphia Eagles being in this Super Bowl coming into this season? Could you have even imagined this being, possibly a Super Bowl season?
Listen, I'm not going to lie, guys. I'm not going to lie. Going into this year, I was not anticipating us being in this position at all. I thought, okay, we get to the playoffs, win a playoff game, great season. That's all I was expecting.
Right.
And then a month into the season, I'm like, oh boy, this looks different. Like something's not right. Jalen Hurts took the jump that I was expecting him to make this jump like in a year or two from now. But he's already in a place where like way ahead of schedule. And all year I'm looking at this. I'm like, this just looks and feels different. This gives me 2017 vibes in terms of how we look as a unit. And we get to the playoffs, and again, we back into the playoffs like we did in 2017. Finish 1-2. The hot playoff team, the Giants, that we kept hearing about. Like, we gotta watch out for Daniel Jones. He figured it out. And I'm like, pump the brakes, guys. Like, let's put things in perspective here. Took care of business, but like. And obviously, we know about the NFC Championship game. Rough go for them, but no, not in a million years did I think we would get into this position where we are right now, considering the talent that we have. Because I didn't think Jalen Hurts would make the jump that he did this year. I thought it would take a lot longer, but he's been nothing short of sensational this year, man. And a big reason why we're here or in the position that we are is because of his play. So truly, truly exciting, man. This is it hasn't hit me yet until like now. Now I'm starting to get like a little jittery. I'm starting to feel a little because like all year I've been like, it's playing really well, playing good teams and all.
You don't want to count your eggs before they hatch, you know what I'm saying?
But like, man, what a day, man. I feel so excited right now. I'm not gonna lie.
Word.
I haven't felt like this in a long time.
And so I have to ask you this. Me and Swan talked about this. Talk to us about Howie Roseman and the job that he's done with this roster turnover in less than 5 years. Who gets rid of your franchise guy? You fire the head coach that won you your first Super Bowl
winning head coach. Mm-hmm.
A Super Bowl win, who I think I love Doug Peterson to this day. I think he's a great head coach.
Yeah.
And you rebuild the roster. You hire a guy that everyone's laughing at around the world because he's stuttering at his first press conference.
Initial press conference.
And I hate to don't get me wrong. I hate ASAP. I hate to take credit away from coaching.
Yeah.
But this is a general manager masterclass.
Yeah. So it's funny you say that because I've been every Eagles fan has always had the love-hate relationship with Howie Roseman. Because it's always been, he either nails the draft or it's like just that one pick where you're just like, what the hell are you thinking, Howie Roseman? And then he pulls. I've never seen a GM like pull trades off or get these signings like pennies on the dollar. Like he always comes with a heist. I don't know what he has on some of these NFL GMs. I don't know what kind of info he's got on these guys, but he always comes out with the upper hand. But it really has been a masterclass as far as roster construction, man. Like you said, Super Bowl winning head coach, you get rid of him. You had a Super Bowl roster, you gut that, and in a few years you turn it around and our roster is arguably more talented than the one we had in 2017.
That's a fact.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Yes,
like it is an excellent job by Howie Roseman. And I did not like Nick Sirianni at first. Like you said, that
I don't think any of us did, though. I think
No.
we
it
all
was an
questioned it.
awful look. And it took me a while for him to grow on me, but I don't want to take away the job that he has done all year.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Getting these guys prepared to play, putting them in the position that they need to be in, helping develop Jalen Hurts, because he definitely has to have a hand in that. So we got to give him credit for that too. And just, again, believing in who he had and putting them in the best position to succeed. It's been an organizational team effort here, and it shows. From the top down, Jeffrey Lurie letting Howie Roseman do his thing, Howie Roseman getting the players, having the license to kind of draft who he wants, and then putting his trust in Nick Sirianni to run the ship. It's been a tremendous season for these guys. I couldn't be more proud as an Eagles fan, honestly. So, like you said, masterclass GM work by Howie Roseman for sure.
Agreed. So, me and Kenny were just talking about some of our X factors for this game. Yeah. And so I'm just going to ask you, just from your Eagles standpoint, who's a couple guys or maybe even a unit who you think could be an X factor and really pay huge dividends for the Eagles in this here Super Bowl?
Right. Well, I heard you guys mention it. You mentioned the running game and the physicality that we play with. I think that's going to be an X factor too. I think Miles Sanders is going to have a huge game. I think he's due for one. He's been kind of hurt this whole playoff run.
I was going to say I wanted to hone in on him, but like I said, Gainwell just had a pretty solid game, and you guys seem to have some success. Obviously, Miles Sanders was you guys' leading rusher, but you guys seem to have success no matter really who's back there. So I just said the entire unit.
Right. Yeah. No, you're right though. It's definitely a running back by committee, especially these playoffs, right? Boston Scott's gotten some action. Kenneth Gainwell, like you said, runs hard. And then Miles Sanders, people don't give him a lot of credit for this because we don't really do this with him, but he's a guy who can catch the ball out the backfield.
Yes,
so he really is an all-around back. He's a really, really talented running back. So I think he's going to have a big game. But another thing, again, another Captain Obvious moment, but our defensive line, we run like 6, 7, 8 guys deep at the defensive line, and that constant cycling of fresh bodies. I mean, Ndamukong and Suh, Linval Joseph, they only get like 30 snaps a game some of the time.
Linval Joseph,
but they maximize those 30 snaps though.
Well, that's my point, right? They're coming in every drive. You come in against Philadelphia, their front seven, it's a fresh unit. It's a fresh unit every single time. So they don't tire out. They really get after the passer. And another thing that they really don't do, I don't have the exact stat. They don't run a lot of stunts as a defensive line. They really don't. So like they're getting their pass rushing win rate is like top 5 in the league, but they're just beating guys straight up.
Right.
So this playoff run, they started running a lot more stunts with like Hassan Reddick, and that's why you're seeing him get a lot of free releases off the line to get to the quarterback. So I think that's going to be a huge, huge deal because John Gannon, like you said at the top, he's had an up and down year too. A lot of Philadelphia Eagle fans wanted him to be more aggressive. And this playoff run, he's been ultra aggressive with the defensive line and sending guys after the quarterback. So my Super Bowl MVP in this game is going to be Hassan Reddick. I think he's going to have a tremendous game. I think he's going to have like 2 or 3 sacks in this game because I think that matchup with Andrew Wiley and him, I think that's a huge, huge mismatch for the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to have to rotate that line over, and all of a sudden you got free releases for other guys, and it's going to be a disaster. I don't know how they're going to block this front unit for the Philadelphia Eagles. So really the X factor for me, like you said, physicality, controlling the clock with the running game, and I think Hassan Reddick and our pass rush gets home more often than not.
So I want to know your take on this because, first of all, even as much as it pains me to say this, you guys have a very complete defensive unit. But one thing that worries me is I don't feel like you guys have a prototypical player to cover Travis Kelce. I think that's the mismatch. Not at linebacker or at safety. So I think somebody's going to have the game of their lives matching up with this man one-on-one. Tell me about your thoughts about that matchup and how do you think the Eagles will approach it?
Yeah, so that's actually it's funny you say that because as great or as good as this Philadelphia Eagles defense is, the weakest unit is that second level where the tight ends are going to kind of eat, right? So, and there's no answer for Travis Kelce. There just never is
Right.
an answer for Travis Kelce. You know, that's who he is, right? So
Right.
the only thing that you could do is slow him down.
Mhm.
I will say this, though. I think Avonte Maddox and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, that duo, playing in that nickel, in that like corner slot there, I
Yeah.
think that's going to be a different matchup that Travis Kelce has seen, because I think we are going to get physical with him. I think we're going to chip him off the top of his routes and stuff like that. We're going to get physical with them off the line, throw off their timing a little bit, because, you know, Kansas City's offense, it's not like what it usually is, where it's like an over-the-top vertical type offense. They're beating you with like traditional West Coast style offense, crosses across the middle, a lot of movement pre-snap, getting guys just a lot of rub routes and stuff. So they're doing everything basically intermediate routes and under. So, and Philadelphia plays a cover 4, and for everyone who knows cover 4, you're going to give up everything underneath. You're not giving up anything over the top. That's how they play it. So
Kenny loves Avonte Maddox. It's crazy you mentioned. He was just talking about how much he loves the kid.
Yeah. And he looks healthy, right? So like he had the week. Everyone's got that bye week, so now everyone's coming in healthy. I think he and you saw and Tiberius knows, man. In that Dallas game, when he got hurt, he was a menace on the field before he hurt his foot. He was all over the field, you know. So he's a guy that brings a lot of energy to us. And Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's back, brings us that swagger again. I think our best hope is just to slow down Travis Kelce and just throw off timing just a little bit. I think that's if we can do that, and I have a feeling Avonte Maddox and our linebacking core can do that. If we can do that to them, just to make Patrick Mahomes say, okay, I got to look at my second or third option here, make him hold the ball, pass rush is going to get home. So really, that's an important aspect that you mentioned, that you're not going to stop Travis Kelce, just slow him down the best as you can. That's really what you have to do. If you can do that, let everyone else try to beat you at that point.
Hey, look, just hold on for dear life.
Right.
Just don't get dragged up and down.
It's Patrick Mahomes, right? We got to put it in perspective here, you know?
Yeah.
That might be the best we've ever seen do it, talent perspective, right? So I'm not lying.
It's arguable.
I'm not gonna sit here and be shocked if he just comes in and lights us up. You know what I mean? He did that with San Francisco. They play cover 4 defense too, and he dropped a 40 piece on them, right? So he's fully capable of lighting up defenses. So.
And it's crazy. It's crazy you were talking about him, because he was probably my biggest storyline coming into this game. And just, you know, if they were to come out on top, just historically, you know, we really have to have that conversation as far as where are we really gonna rank Patrick Mahomes historically. And this is just his 6th season. But I wanted to ask you, and obviously you have the obvious answer in Patrick Mahomes, but what is it about the Kansas City Chiefs that may scare you, or that you think may cause the Eagles their biggest problem?
Well, it's actually just the way their offense is designed. A lot of the intermediate stuff, a lot of throws underneath, like the traditional Andy Reid style offense. That's the weakest part of our Philadelphia Eagles unit, right? And I come back to that Christmas Eve game when Dak Prescott was starting against for the Dallas Cowboys. He lit us up when we were in zone. Literally, at like 25 passes he completed, 300 yards. Like the guy just kept eating. And this Andy Reid West Coast style offense, Patrick Mahomes, they'll eat the zone up, man. Like they will light you up in a zone. So I really expect John Gannon. He'll probably come out in our traditional cover 4 look and just to see what they're going to run. But I think we have to change our defense, man. I think we have to really play tight on these guys, because I'm not afraid of anybody beating us over the top. MVS, I'll take my chances with him, even though he is a burner. But like I trust my cornerbacks to be able to keep up with that. And Sky Moore, he's another talented receiver, but like he's a rookie. I don't know if he's going to be able to beat us over the top. Juju Smith-Schuster's not that type of guy, right? And Travis Kelce, as great as he is, he's not beating you over the top. He's going to beat you with savvy, route running, and just being in the right position, right? So there's nobody vertical who I'm worried about. So I think we come out aggressive, play tight on these guys, and not give them that traditional cover 4 look, and just see if they can beat us over the top. Because if they can do that, tip of the cap to them, because then they deserve it.
And you know something, I'm glad you're able. First of all, I love that Asaph is able to really understand the strengths and weaknesses coming to this game, because most Philadelphia Eagles fans I talk to, whether they're podcasters or not podcasters, or they really are into sports, they kind of have like an arrogant mindset towards this game, like, oh, well, we're gonna win this game, you know. But you look at Kansas City, and I think one of the biggest, it's like a blessing in disguise for them, is getting rid of a Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
And obviously we know he's a Hall of Fame caliber type of player and has world-class speed. But it really forced Andy Reid to get a lot more creative of some of the things that he can do underneath.
Sure.
You mentioned MVS. Like, MVS is a burner. You know, you had Mecole Hardman when he was healthy. But the truth is their offense has changed substantially.
Absolutely.
Not having Tyreek Hill. So you're really seeing them take of more of those intermediate routes. I mentioned earlier, Juju Smith-Schuster is going to play a lot in the slot. He's going to give Avonte Maddox a handful just because he's a big body. He's a physical, big body.
Yeah. He might be a clown. He might be a clown, but that dude is physical as hell. When he puts that chin strap on, you're in it for 60 minutes, man. He'll come after you, man. He really is. He's a physical receiver. So you said it, man. It's just it's an interesting matchup, man. That's really what I'm more excited about than anything else. It's an interesting matchup and a game of schematics more than anything else.
Yeah,
right?
It's gonna be a chess match.
It's gonna be a big time chess match, and I don't think people give a lot of credit to like Nick Sirianni and his ability to match chess pieces with everybody else. But he's done a phenomenal job this year of putting guys in position. And John Gannon, to his credit, he's made adjustments when he's needed to. Mm-hmm. So again, I'm really curious to see how he's going to attack this Kansas City Chiefs offense. Because like you said, everything basically intermediate and under. That's kind of like their bread and butter. So can we force them to zig while we want them to zag?
That's going to be
that's going to be the difference in the game, man. I think that's going to be the difference in the game.
Word.
So talk to us about Jalen Hurts. Obviously, we know he made a jump, but what is he? Because I'm as much as I'm critical of Jalen Hurts, I love the progress that he's shown thus far. But one thing I hope we can all agree on, he can't have the performance he had in the NFC Championship.
No,
he's gonna have to play kind of how he was playing pre-injury, where he was giving you 250, 300 yards passing and. So talk to us a little bit about Jalen Hurts and what he's going to have to do for Philadelphia to pull this game out.
So it's interesting because overall, I think our team's roster talent is better than Kansas City. And
a lot better.
Yeah.
A lot better, right? I think we all can agree.
Yeah.
And this offense and this team really rolls the way Jalen Hurts plays.
Mm-hmm.
But in this game, considering our matchup, I don't think Jalen Hurts has to be Superman in this game. I really don't. I think Patrick Mahomes has to have a+ game and be Superman. He can't make mistakes. He can't be the guy that, has like a subpar performance, or else this Kansas City Chiefs offense is not going to, it's not going to do what it wants to do. Mm-hmm. Philadelphia, on the other hand, has the running game, has the offensive line, has weapons on the outside, and Jalen Hurts, and you mentioned earlier with the progress, something that he doesn't get a lot of credit for, and recently he has, everything from the neck up. He's made such a huge jump from the neck up, recognizing defenses, calling checks at the line, changing the protections up if need be. These past few games, or this past season rather, he's been sensational at the line of scrimmage. And then he's getting easy one-on-one looks with Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, vertical shots to A.J. Brown. Dallas Goedert underneath is a nightmare for linebackers and slot cornerbacks, right? And then when nothing else works, we have the running game where Miles Sanders at the RPO, at that mesh point, Jalen Hurts can take off and run it. Or he can give it to Miles Sanders, Kenny Gainwell, Boston Scott, and just let them do work, right? So he has done a good job of keeping the game simple. And I don't think he has to throw for 250 yards and give me 50 yards rushing to win this game. I just think he has to keep the turnovers low.
Don't turn it over. Mm-hmm.
Right. Don't turn it over, which he's done all year. And just be efficient on third down. If we can get the third and short in this game, Kansas City's defense all year has struggled against third and short, against 4th and 2, against 4th and 1, right? Which is ironic because they have Chris Jones at the line of scrimmage there at DT, right? So you would think a team like that with Chris Jones would be able to get a better push at 4th and 1, but Philadelphia is number 1 in the league at 4th and 1, 3rd and 1 situations, and Kansas City is not. And Jalen Hurts, as long as he can just operate this offense and get us to third and short and get us to, short yardage distance here, I don't think he has to do anything spectacular to win this game. I really, really don't.
And it's crazy you were saying that because I think that, and obviously along with the addition of A.J. Brown, I think that the biggest reason for you guys' success this season and ultimately being in the Super Bowl is Jalen Hurts and that jump that he's made so soon as an NFL quarterback. Absolutely. And I think that you really hit on the nail, you know, even outside of what he can do with his feet, but just the throws that he's been able to make in the pocket and how much more cerebral he's came at the position. I think that that's a really, really, really underrated factor, man. So, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, he's put so much work into it. His mechanics have cleaned up so much. It's a much tighter, crisper throw. And even last year, last year when we went 9-8, a lot of the passing touchdowns that he had were called back due to penalty. So it wasn't like he wasn't seeing the field even last year. It just looked a lot worse because we'd get 1 foot out of bounds. It'd be an illegal man down the field. It would be, you know, just some silly pass interference on the offense type of deal where, you know, a touchdown gets called back and then he converts that to a rushing touchdown, you know? So I think this has been in the works for some time. I just didn't think as a pure consistent thrower he would get to this point where he is right now.
So soon.
Yeah, like because like last year, as good as he was, you know, just like operating this offense, throwing the ball was not. I was critical of him. I was critical of him. I was sitting there. I'm like, Howard Roseman better do something about this quarterback position. Like, we got to figure this thing out. You know, I was part of
this was a make or break year for him.
It was. And you know what? And he showed out with flying colors, man. He really, really did, man. He was spectacular. So it's a testament to him, and he knows what he's got to get better at now.
Yeah.
Right. There's still some holes in his game where, you know, if he just cleans that up, it's gonna be a long time where Philadelphia has a shot to get back in this very position that they are right now. So it's definitely very exciting time.
And I was talking about him earlier too, and he's such a great person, a great kid, great character, very, very, you know, spiritual individual. And I was saying earlier that we've literally seen in the public eye, especially when we go back to college, we literally seen him in the public eye rise to the mountaintop, fall, work his way back, rise to the mountaintop again, and now here he is in the Super Bowl, and he's just as great an individual as you could ask for. Very, very humble kid. You don't hear nothing about him in the paper, nothing about him in the media. I mean, he's really, and he's a leader. Like that Philadelphia Eagles team really rallies around him. They truly, truly believe in him. They trust in him, and it's just he's a feel good story. He's a great guy, and he's the type of guy that you really just root for.
Oh, absolutely, dude. Absolutely. It's been a pleasure watching him. And I know this hurts Tiberius, but like even he don't hate Jalen Hurts. Like he doesn't
hate
the guy.
You know what
I mean? He's a Cowboys fan, you know, like everybody's got love for this guy because he is like that feel good story. Like you said.
You can't, man. We seen him be the SEC Offensive Player of the Year, and then at the very end of that year get benched.
Yeah.
You know? And ultimately sit behind another NFL quarterback for an entire year, you know, held his head up, did all the right things in the media, said all the right things in the media, have to go back to the drawing board, go to Oklahoma, he's successful, gets drafted, comes to the Eagles, and now look at him, man. Just constant work, constant growth, humble. You got to root for the kid. How can you not like the guy?
Exactly.
Well, I'll say this, and I think you look at the rebuild process, which I mean, we can let's call it a pseudo rebuild because the year you guys are supposed to be rebuilding, you made the damn playoffs.
Yeah, right.
But they were able to put together, outside of already having that solid foundation of guys that already won a championship in Brandon Grant, Jason Kelce, Fletcher Cox. They were really able to put together a group of guys that had a big chip on their shoulder. And I think that connection of getting a Nick Sirianni, who was not their first choice at head coach. Well, he wasn't a lot of guys, you know, first choice at head coach. And then getting a Jalen Hurts, who had been a little bit of a cast off. Obviously, at least he got picked in the second round, you know, during the Carson Wentz era. So there was some people that saw potential.
Head scratching pick.
Right. It was definitely head scratching. I remember him get drafted and people were like, him? You know, but seeing these guys come together and really just build something so special, I think is the best thing about this Philadelphia Eagles team. I remember looking at last year, and I think this was the turning point for Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni. The first few weeks, I felt like Nick Sirianni was trying to run a little bit more of a traditional West Coast passing scheme.
Yeah.
And it was like maybe about week 4, week 5, he's like, you know what, this shit isn't going to work. Let's go ahead and let's play to our strengths. And he winds up looking at that supporting cast, looking at the offensive line that you guys have, looking at Jalen Hurts' strength, and he says, you know what? Let's go ahead and make this a team, and we'll build everything outside of that. And to me, that was the turning point for Jalen Hurts.
Totally agree, man. Because that was something that I was pounding the table for last year. The first
Run the ball.
last year, I was just like, run the goddamn ball. I don't run Lamar Jackson's offense. I don't care. Just pound the rock and build the pass off that. And kudos to him. And he recognized it. He recognized the adjustment he had to make. And again, just like made the offense very friendly for Jalen Hurts for him to operate. And it's an offense that he feels totally comfortable with. And an underrated thing, this is the first time he's had the same coordinator on offense for 2 years in a row.
That's true. Even Alabama,
he never had consistency with play calling.
That's true.
So,
and I hate to mention this, but if I'm not mistaken, rumor is he might be taking the coach job.
Yeah.
I guess he's the front runner there for the coach job.
He's going.
I see.
Steve Sean. Oh, did he? Yeah. Is he the front runner? Steve Sean.
He's the front runner. Yeah, he's the front runner for Indianapolis, and rightfully so. He deserves the job. I think he's going to do a good job in Indianapolis too. And I know Justin, my friend's really excited.
Big coach fan.
He wanted me to mention he was really sorry he couldn't be here today, man.
It's fine. We'll catch him.
Yeah,
we'll catch him draft season.
Yeah, no doubt, man. He's just dealing with some outside issues right now. So I'll hold down the fort for him right now. But he's excited, man. If they give him that contract and bring in Shane Steichen, I think he's going to do a tremendous job for Indianapolis over there. And they have a good defense over there too. They have some young pieces on offense. If they get the quarterback,
I was going to say they'll probably go quarterback in the draft. I'm actually, I'm a Bears fan, and I really hope that they put together a package and send us, because I want us to move off that first round pick. I mean, that number one pick. Right, so I would love for the coach to go ahead and put a package together and send to us.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, we'll see, man. It's gonna be a fun time in April.
So since we got a few more minutes, I guess I'd be wrong. I'd be robbing the people if I didn't talk about how the football gods, like, they didn't give us this third Cowboys-Eagles matchup that we were supposed to get with Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott present. I just felt I felt robbed.
Trust me, because one of my other boys is a Cowboys fan, and we were talking about it all week. We're like, dude, beat the 49ers. I want you in the NFC title game. Like, I want you guys to come to Lincoln just so we could bust your ass. That's all I want.
And I'm gonna tell you this. Yeah. It was so serious that I was literally in that week. I had Ticketmaster ready, and I said, if the Cowboys beat the 49ers, we're going to Lincoln Field.
Oh, hell yeah.
I had it ready, but and they lost. I had
to go on. I was
out there over the summer. I was in Philadelphia over the summer for some work training, man, and you guys have some really phenomenal, really passionate fans, not even just, for the football team, but for the basketball team, the Phillies. You all have some really passionate fans. And I think it was pretty cool how all of the stadiums are literally like right there.
Yeah,
like you can literally walk stadium to stadium to stadium. I thought that was really cool,
man. Literally, it's all in just like this one big ass parking lot.
That's
really what it is. Like, you go to the Lincoln Financial Field, you walk out, you go to the 76ers arena, and then after that, you go to the Phillies arena. Right? It's all in one spot. So, yeah, man, Philadelphians, they vibe with their teams, man, and a lot of people in Philadelphia, they call it passionate fans. I don't abide
passionate.
By this. I am not an asshole Phillies. I'm not an asshole Eagles fan. I really try to pride myself on being objective and like mild mannered. Some of these Eagle fans, they're out of pocket. They really are.
The ones I met out there were pretty cool. They're passionate in the sense of like they love their Eagles, obviously.
But if you don't love,
the ones I met were pretty cool though. Yeah, and I'm not an NFC East team fan, so I was okay.
No. It's sometimes it can get a little dicey, and I urge Eagles fans to change that narrative a little bit. Like, have some perspective here. We have a great team. Everybody knows that we have a really good team. We don't have to, get like super aggressive with these people.
Didn't the city grease the polls?
Oh yeah,
just so they don't
Don't even go
I'm
there.
like, man, how bad can it get?
You have no idea how much that pisses me off. These people have no goddamn sense. Like,
let's tear up our own city.
That's what I'm saying. What are you doing?
I was just gonna ask, man, if they win, do you think you're gonna go out and celebrate with the rest of the fans?
Nah, man, there's no way. As much as I would love to go out there and vibe.
Are you in Pennsylvania?
No, I'm in New York, dog. I'm in New York. I'm in Long Island. I'm in like white suburban area, bro. I'm just chilling at home. I am like
nothing wrong with that, man.
What you would think an Eagles fan should be. You know what I mean? Like I am like I'm in my basement right now, bro. Like
that's a nice basement.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you. Yeah, no, I'm just that's where it is, man. But no, as much as I would love to go to Philly, there's no way I'd be able to do that, man. There really would be no way for me to do that.
So last thing, because we got a few more minutes until we get our next guest.
Sure.
First of all, this is one thing that has been irking me. First of all, the football fan in me respects Philly making it to the Super Bowl. Obviously, the Cowboys fan in me hates it, but you have to give them credit. By God, I don't think I've ever seen a more entitled group of players than the San Francisco 49ers. And it's almost as if they felt like God anointed them that they were supposed to make the Super Bowl. And because they didn't, they've been throwing shade all week. Christian McCaffrey, Robbie Gould, Brandon Ayuk. I'm like, where does it stop? Where do y'all just admit defeat?
I don't think if Purdy was healthy, I don't think they could have went in there and won that game.
No. And they have the audacity, and Brandon Ayuk has the audacity to say we're hands down the best team in NFL after you just got the crap beat out of you in the NFC Championship.
Yeah.
But tell me, you can tell me what your thoughts is on those players and that fan base.
I don't know. That sounds like a group of people whose panties are in a bunch. You know what I'm saying? They're not in the big game. My team is. They can shut their mouths. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Listen, even the year after the Super Bowl run, not the year after, like a couple years after, when Carson Wentz was our quarterback, he went down against Seattle, right? Like he got knocked out the game. You didn't hear Philadelphia Eagle fans bitching and moaning about, we had Josh McCown, who was put together by duct tape at that point, basically finished the game with a torn hamstring. You know what I'm saying? Like he was on one leg, and then Carson Wentz gets knocked out the game on an actual dirty play. You know, you didn't hear Philadelphia Eagle fans complain. And listen, San Francisco 49er fans, listen up. And they're a talented unit and they're a passionate fan base too. But if y'all were that good, be in the big game more often then. Y'all knock Nick Sirianni, and I'm saying y'all as San Francisco 49er fans, not you guys.
Right.
They knocked Nick Sirianni saying it's a free ride. They got all this talent. Of course they were going to win. I'm like, bro, what the hell has Kyle Shanahan been working with?
Exactly.
One of the most talented defenses in the NFL for years. One of the most talented offensive players they got Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, and then they got an upgraded quarterback in the season. And not only that, going into the NFC title game, was Brock Purdy slated as the starter?
Yeah.
Yep.
He was, right? Did he finish the game? No. Because the defense did its job. Knocked him out the game.
That's what the defense's job is to do.
And for a team that has a physical DNA, they got out physical. Yeah. They got punched in the mouth, flat out, point blank, period, and they have to accept that.
And here's the funny part to me. I always felt like the 49ers defense was overrated all season because I just felt like they hadn't really played anybody. And then when they played Kansas City, they got the snot kicked out of them. But they defensively got smacked in the mouth so bad that Jalen Hurts only had to have 130 yards passing with no touchdowns. Probably had one of his worst passing statistical games of the season, and y'all still beat them 31-7.
Yeah,
that is
they ran all over them. They won at the line of scrimmage.
At the line of
point
scrimmage,
blank period.
Blew them off the ball. Point blank period.
And a quarterback had nothing to do with that.
Nothing to do with that. Oh, we know if if Brock Purdy, I say yeah, man. So it's definitely some nonsense.
Let them talk. It's all good. Their team ain't in it. You know, like I got nothing to say to them because everything that they could say about Philadelphia, I can turn around and say the same thing about them. Who have they played all year? If we had a light schedule, who have the 49ers played all year? Right?
Exactly.
We have a defense that's like, we haven't played any good quarterbacks. I'm like, who have y'all played? You're the number one defense in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? Like, it goes both ways here. It's a team effort here. we were just more physical than them. They weren't used to getting punched in the mouth. Seattle took them to the half in a tight ball game. Dallas played them really, really tough. Dallas is a physical football team. Yeah. They're matching their physicality too. You know
and you have an argument that had Tony Pollard not gotten hurt, that Dallas probably beats them. I mean, that's just more than likely. But they don't. Once Tony Pollard went down, it was just. I agree, man. It was just CeeDee Lamb, so the game was a lot more simplified. But
absolutely.
Absolutely. But yeah, no. It's just special to see what this unit has done. Like I said, as much as it pains me as a Cowboys fan to admit it, this is a really good Eagles team. I think that they should be the favorites this matchup because of roster and strength. But before we go ahead and let you go, give us your final prediction score-wise.
I got 28-24 Philadelphia Eagles winning this ball game, and I think we get a stop on defense to end the game. That's where I'm, because I think we're gonna have Patrick Mahomes have the ball in his hands, and I think again, I have Hassan Reddick as my MVP in this game. I think he's gonna make the game-changing play for us that puts an end to the game, and then we have the second Lombardi Trophy that we've had in franchise history. So I think it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be a close ball game, man. It's gonna be an exciting watch, and I'm ready, man. I'm ready for it.
Also, bro, before you go, I wanted to give you an opportunity to shout out you and the work that you've been doing. You and Justin, and you all do your own thing as far as your own podcast and everything. Yeah. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to shout that out, man. So go ahead and let everybody know all of that.
Appreciate you. Yeah. So me and Justin, he's a Colts fan. I'm an Eagles fan. We're still under the Riding the Bench podcast. With the K instead of seeing the word podcast, but he's just doing more Colts content. I'm covering basically exclusively Eagles content, and we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram. We also have a website, theridingthebenchpodcast.com. So if you,
I was going to say, go ahead and give the YouTube handle and the Instagram handle, just so people can go ahead and check you guys out.
No doubt. So on Instagram, it's at The Riding the Bench Podcast with a K instead of C in the word podcast. And on YouTube, just type The Riding the Bench Podcast. Same deal, K instead of Scene Podcast. And you'll see me and Justin's page and faces all over that. So, again, exclusively Colts and Eagles content. But feel free to subscribe, help support the cause here, because we're trying to grow little by little and get better each day, as you guys have done. I just want to say this, yo. Congrats on the new look, man. Y'all been doing some good work over here, too. I know y'all took a little bit of a break and done your thing a little bit. Like, y'all been putting in a lot of time, and y'all do really good work. And it's always a fun time coming on with you too. So I really appreciate you bringing me on once again. And hopefully we come back again in next year's Super Bowl with a film.
Man. We want to have you guys on. We're going to get you guys back before that. And I was just going to say, man, you all do some awesome work too. Me and Kenny talk about all the time, like the skits you guys do are like comedy. I don't know if one of you guys like do a little comedy in your off time, but them shits are hilarious, bro. I don't know who comes up with those skits for y'all, but they are hilarious, man. These guys are great, man. So y'all definitely go check them out.
Thank y'all. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate y'all.
Most definitely. Be safe. And as a matter of fact, like I said, we're gonna see you come in draft season. So just tell Justin to get ready, because I'm sure we're gonna have to talk about what some of these picks are gonna look like.
Absolutely, man. Can't wait for it. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, good luck to the Eagles,
man. Right. Enjoy the game. All right, man.
Thanks, man.
Man, love that dude, man. Good dude.
Yeah. ASAP.
Having him on.
Mr. Philly fan. Always fun talking to him, and you guys will see him here pretty soon come draft season. But we have two more guys coming on, familiar faces, because you guys have seen them.
Regulars, right?
they nice regulars. I call him, his name is Ron Herod Jr., but I call him Big Ron. And we got
the unofficial third co-host.
Unofficial third co-host. He's been on here so much. Just too young. I look at these guys and I'm like, man, I wish I was where these guys was when I was that age.
I was just gonna say, man, I really admire these guys. Two young guys who have a love for sports, and they're going out here, whether it be in the reporting field, in the podcasting field, and the analytic field. They're both going out here and doing their things and getting after it at a young age, man. I wish I would have thought about that. You know what I'm saying, at that age, man. So I really admire these two guys for real.
So let's go ahead and get them on here. See, Zay stepped away real quick.
He's coming back.
What's up, fellas?
What's happening?
How's my mic sound?
It sounds
Oh
good.
yeah, we hear you. You good?
Oh, okay, cool. I was having some troubles backstage at first.
So it's good to get you guys on. I know he's been following around. Also, we just had Asaph, who's a Philly fan. But earlier, me and Swan, we talked about some of the storylines and the X factors surrounding this matchup with the Chiefs and the Eagles. So I guess we can go ahead and start with storylines. You guys could tell me what where do you guys stand on some of these storylines? For the first time, 2 black quarterbacks, right? We got Andy Reid coaching against his former team. We got 2 brothers playing against each other, 2 future first ballot Hall of Famers, right? And the last storyline, we actually, for the first time in a while, actually got the 2 top seeds playing each other. It hasn't happened in a while.
Yeah.
So talk to me. You guys can talk to me about what are your thoughts on some of those storylines.
You want to go, Ron?
Yeah, I can start. So first, with that about the 2 black quarterbacks, I know one of my friends, Emmanuel Morgan with the New York Times, he did a hell of an article on just like interviewing some of the coaches and some of the players of what that actually mean. Everyone seems to be taking that pretty seriously. Like I know some of the media is somewhat trying to play it down in some aspects, but it seems like both the teams are taking that pretty seriously. And personally, I take it pretty seriously because at one point 20 years ago, my father told me black people didn't even want to play the quarterback position because you didn't even think that you would even have a chance to get this far. So I do think that's a big deal. So I think that's a huge storyline. I'm glad that NFL networks and ESPNs have been hitting on. Another storyline I think I did see is the Meek Mill Lil Uzi storyline for the Philadelphia Eagles.
What's the
Allegedly, what I've heard is that they're supposed to bring out Lil Uzi and Just Wanna Rock or something like that. They're trying to do something like that in the Super Bowl with the Eagles, or they're just going to have him in the suite or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I'm really interested to see how this Philly, because the Philly is a big music city, how they bring that out. I'm really excited to see that. And those are 2 black artists as well, so it'd be pretty cool. Now we did it, Joe.
That's my wife, babe. Thanks, babe. Love you. That's my wife, guys.
Yes, sir.
The behind the scenes partner to the podcast here.
Yeah, no.
Go ahead, Zay.
Okay. The 2 black quarterbacks is truly remarkable. I think you look at where the position has gone in terms of the college level and even at the professional level, more so at the professional level, because I feel like there's so many. Like 10 years ago, I say so many, like a lot of our black quarterbacks are the best quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, and even at this point, they may not be like Russell Wilson. We still don't know, but he's had a phenomenal career. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Mahomes is obviously the best player, the best quarterback in football. This particular position is seen as a powerful position. I look at Dak Prescott. He's the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
Of America's team.
That's like playing shortstop for the Yankees. That's like being the superstar point guard, superstar player on the Lakers. Mm-hmm. It holds a different type of weight.
Hey, look, Zay. They said, who would have thought we would have seen a multi-racial, half black, half white, tatted up from Louisiana guy be the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys?
for the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, it's America. So it got this everything this position means a lot. So the mere fact that we have 2 who, like I said, Mahomes is Mahomes, but then Jalen Hurts, he's had his trials and tribulations. Mm-hmm. Look at that. I think it's an amazing storyline, and it shows we still got ways to go, but it shows how far we have come, where we have 2 black quarterbacks playing at the at the highest level, the biggest stage that the NFL can offer. That point blank period, and then like I said, there's a litany of guys in this league that play the quarterback position that are among the best, you would say. That was a great storyline you pointed out, Ron. I'm a big Andy Reid guy. Him playing against his former or coaching against his former team, I should say, is big.
Mm-hmm.
And Andy has had a lot of success. I know me and Ira, we was having this conversation
man,
and we talked about how over the past 5 years and up to this point right now, it is fair to say that Andy Reid has been a better football coach than Bill Belichick. That takes nothing away from Bill Belichick.
I think currently you have to say he's the best coach in the NFL right now.
Yes,
that's a tough one for me.
No. That's been the conversation for over the past few years now, and we don't have to get into that whole thing. That's tough though. Yeah. I'm just pointing out that, like, hey, if Andy Reid is able to capture his second Super Bowl within 5 years, I think it's in 4 years, 2 Super Bowls in 4 years. Once again, it just adds another like not stain, but another point, it's another brownie towards him and his Hall of Fame resume. And I think it's like at this point we got to acknowledge, like, Belichick, he thrived in his time in 20 years in New England. I think obviously that dynasty can't be overlooked. But I think over the past 5 years, you look at how New England has kind of came back down to earth.
Mm-hmm.
Belichick has always struggled to draft, and that weakness is now showing. But Tom Brady was able to cover and masquerade that weakness. Now he has average quarterback play, and now he has to come back down. He's regressed to the mean.
Man, pass the collection plate. Okay, let me go. Okay, because he preaching.
All right. And I'm sure Ron can see the annoyance on my face.
Yeah.
I'm all about Andy Reid. Once again, I will always maintain he's the greatest offensive mind this game has ever seen. And just his success over the past 25 plus years has kind of proven that. But I think that what we've seen, even though Bill can be arrogant at times, and I think his reluctance to hire a offensive coordinator for the 2022 season was proof of that. Yeah. A rebuild with New England is like either you're in the playoffs or you're barely outside of the playoffs. That's what a rebuild looks like for Bill Belichick.
That's fair.
So it's like kind of like
Go ahead, Zay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I've always pointed out that
Ron, you got a fan.
I'll look at that comment from
King is a fool.
Look, I've always have acknowledged the fact that Belichick he's not a bad. I'm not saying he's a bad coach. I'm just saying.
No, I understand that.
I'm just saying he's not the best coach no longer. But I also can acknowledge Belichick is so damn good defensively in X's and O's. His defense.
Shout out to Jesse G.
His defense is always going to be on point. And so, like, he's not going to ever be bad enough to the fact where he's going to look like he's just only going to win 3 or 4 games. But
he's never going to have a top 5 pick.
Right. But his teams have always been kind of boring. And now, we got over that because it's like they're winning. So it's like, you can't really knock them for being boring. Now they're boring and average. And you know that reminds me of the Spurs. Because the Spurs.
I don't like that. I don't like that.
Listen, here it is. Popovich was stuck in his ways.
Mm-hmm.
Since Kawhi Leonard has left, he's done nothing. And it's okay. It's happened to coaches. We've seen it with Bobby Knight. We've seen it with Greg Popovich. We're now seeing it with Bill Belichick. And like I said, the Spurs, their style of play, we can appreciate their style of play, but we can also acknowledge that it was not the most entertaining. And now the mere fact, but they were winning, so you couldn't knock it. But now that they're average and below average, and their style of play is boring, it's 2 bad combinations, and that is what's happening in New England. They've had a BB gun offense over the past 2 to 3 years. Tom Brady's last year, they weren't great offensively.
I love Zay.
All I'm saying is this. All I'm saying is
the man's preaching.
Bill Belichick.
I mean, he's making some good points, but I'm like, oh, go ahead.
All I'm saying is Bill Belichick, his sensibility for offense in 2023.
I concur.
is not up to par, and I'm glad he's made the first step in bringing Bill O'Brien back. I'm glad.
I think there'll be. I think there'll be a playoff lock. I think they're a playoff lock next year.
Yeah. Okay. I think that'll bring back Mac Jones to where we thought he was last year, because I think it's safe to say after his rookie season, we pretty much thought after his rookie season he was probably the best quarterback in that class. And it's no way that he just.
I never thought that.
As far as his play, as far as the way he played,
I kept saying it was gonna look.
Excuse me. Let me edit that.
Quarterback though.
Let me edit that. We thought that he played the best.
Yeah, he played
of the quarterbacks in this draft. But I think with Bill O'Brien being back, I think we'll see him kind of go back to that Mac Jones that we've seen.
I agree. Only thing about that division is they're not gonna be better than the Dolphins next year.
Yes, they are. They are.
The Broncos just got Vic Fangio.
If they're at all right.
Vic Fangio is the defensive coordinator of the Miami Dolphins.
I'll tell you this. So that way we don't get.
Let's not forget about the Jets. If the Jets get a quarterback, stand by.
Okay, so just so we don't get too caught up.
He was so quick to say, "Oh yeah."
So just so we don't get too caught up. This is what I want. And we'll get back to Super Bowl. Exactly. So just so we don't get things too caught up, I want people to just realize how.
DP, I knew who you was, bro. What's going on?
Yeah, just so we don't get things too caught up. Average offensively this year, they're a 10 or 11 win team. Like that's how close they were.
And if they're a 12 win. They're a 12 win thing.
Yep.
What's the difference?
You know what? We will carry this conversation on for another. I know that you guys. I know that Bill O'Brien's going to come in there. They're going to be average, and they're probably going to have some games where they look slightly above average. And defensively, they're going to be great. Where they're drafting, they're probably going to draft a top defensive player. We'll talk about that. But that's one thing I love. Just know, guys, when Zay comes on, Zay is going to say something that's going to ruffle my feathers. I mean, they both.
I love it.
They're going to ruffle my feathers.
I'm swan done, and I approve that message.
I just thought we was going to come on and have a peaceful chat and talk about the Super Bowl. But let's get back to that, so that way we don't get too caught up and get the people what they're paying for. So let's talk about the X factors in this game. All right. I like to look at both sides of the ball. So starting with the Chiefs, Isaiah and Ron, what are the X factors offensively and defensively for the Chiefs to win this football game?
I can tell you on defense, we know it's Chris Jones.
Mm-hmm.
But that's too easy of an answer. So the X factor on defense will be Frank Clark.
Ooh,
that would be the X factor. We all know he's top 5 in career sacks in the playoffs. He's essentially Willie McGinnis-esque. That's the type of projection his career is going playoff wise. They have to be able to contain Jalen Hurts. Hurts has 86 rushing yards combined since he's come back from injury. But I think this is the game they're going to try to unleash him. I think they've been really saving him. So Frank Clark is going to have to get pressure up the middle and through the edges. So I think Frank Clark defensively has to be their X factor. Offensively, I think Juju is still going to be hampered. He's going to play, he's still hampered. So MVS is going to have another game because Travis Kelce can't do it all. We know Travis Kelce. You're not an X factor. You have to be Travis Kelce. You're above being X factor.
He just has to get out of bed.
He has to be Travis. Yeah, you have to be Travis Kelce. Like you're above. Just you're not even at that. Like you have a Hall of Fame standard. You have to play to that level. MVS now he can either have 1 catch or 6. Like you need him to be closer to that 5 or 6 range, and it has to be a big play down the field probably for them to win this game. And I think we saw that Tyreek Hill play when they were down 20-10. When Tyreek Hill came back and caught the ball. MVS is the only receiver they have that has that type of really potential to do a play.
Are they? Is he? Because it's another name who I hope people remember. He's on that roster.
Yeah, I think we both went Kadarius Toney as an X factor there.
Tony,
well, is he playing today? He's hurt though.
Yes, he is.
No, he's supposed to play. McCole Hardman's out, but
what I've heard is that he's not healthy though. Like I just don't like. He's just not going to be. Maybe, but it's Super Bowl.
Who is healthy? Look, who is healthy?
Like, I'm saying so. The fact is, he's less healthy than the less healthy guys. Like, like everybody hurt, and you worse than those guys. You're like 190.
Also, there's levels. There's levels to the healthiest.
That was actually one of my storylines in this game. The ankle of Patrick Mahomes, and will we see him have a little bit more mobility, and the shoulder of Justin Hurts, and if we will see them kind of game plan around him really, slinging it in the pocket. Even though obviously we know the Philadelphia Eagles want to run the ball anyway. Right. But I'm sorry, Zay, what about you and your X factors? What you got for this game?
Chiefs watch.
Starting with the Chiefs watch. Okay, defensively, they're secondary. I've always, throughout the year, I thought Kansas City was the best team. Was the best team in the AFC. I didn't always feel like they were the most balanced or the most complete, but I always felt like they were the best team. And I think their secondary always gave me cause for pause, because they gave up a lot of yardage. Now, some of that can be, you can break in between the lines of that, because like some of the times Kansas City, they lead in the fourth quarter, so teams have to come back and try to throw the football. They're going to pick up, yardage and so forth. But I think it's definitely the secondary. I'm looking at this secondary. I'm looking at a guy like Tre'Davious Ward. I think these are going to be some big time. The secondary, if they can force a turnover, because I went back and we'll talk about this when we talk about the Eagles more so, but I look at Hurts' strong shoulder or that shoulder injury back in the NFC Championship game. He didn't have to do much, but a lot of his balls came out a little funky.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but it's a pec, right? It's a pectoral.
It's the pec. So I don't know how that impacts, but I think the Kansas City Chiefs secondary. I'm looking at a guy like Tre'Davious Ward, who's had. Not Tre'Davious Ward. I'm so sorry.
Ladarius Sneed.
Ladarius Sneed.
With Tre'Davious Ward.
But I think their secondary. That's the unit of their defense that I'm looking towards, and then offensively, the Chiefs' run game. I want to see their run game a little bit. Who was the running back that won?
Pacheco?
No. When they beat the 49ers in the Super Bowl, who was their running back?
It was Damian Williams. It was Damian Williams.
Yeah, Damian Williams. The Bears signed him the next year.
And I want to bet off a Swan. I want to bet off a Swan in that Super Bowl.
Oh wow!
That he would have over 100 yards.
Damian Williams had a big time Super Bowl in that game. I'm looking for the Chiefs running game to find some type of effectiveness and consistency. So we're talking about the injuries out wide. We're talking about obviously Patrick Mahomes' ankle. Obviously Philly defense should be keyed in and double teaming Travis Kelce. So it'll help relieve a lot of stress and pressure if their running game is effective versus this Philly front.
I'm gonna throw out a name that gets untalked about. And he's actually a very crucial part of their offense. Jerick McKinnon is quietly productive. And it's like
touchdowns, right?
Catching balls in the backfield.
Yeah, and it's like you see what Andy Reid has done to implement him into that scheme. And it's like you'll get a taste of, obviously he's not healthy. You get a taste of Mecole Hardman. You get a taste of Juju Smith-Schuster. You get a taste of Travis Kelce. And then out of nowhere, Jerick McKinnon's running a wheel route and he's going up the field for 30, 40 yards. So that'll be another name to kind of focus on, because I want to see if they're able to get some mismatches with those Philadelphia linebackers, Kaiser White and TJ Edwards.
Oh,
I love Ron.
Hey, Ron.
That thing is crazy.
Hey, you got
a crazy.
Hey, you got a groupie.
I appreciate you.
Hey, look, King. Hey, King. What about Ryan?
Yeah.
But let's move towards Philly. All right. Let's look at the Philadelphia side. Obviously, they have the more talented roster. But what are some X factors you look at offensively and defensively for them that you think that they need to take advantage of to win the game?
It has to be Lane Johnson on offense. Mm-hmm. We know he's playing through torn everything. So, he's gutting out. He's still been pretty elite. But Chiefs are second in sacks.
He did a pretty solid job on Bosa.
He did a pretty solid job. So, he just has to stay at that level because he's a tackle at the end of the day. Of course, we all know the Eagles' offensive line overall is the best in the league. But your tackles are your most valuable just because, the way, how you rush the quarterback and everything. So if he somehow has to go out because it just bothers him for a second, that might be a big factor in this game really changing. And on the defensive end, I'm not sure is Avonte Maddox playing this game.
I think he is. If I'm not mistaken, Avonte Maddox is, yeah.
So because he hasn't played in the playoffs. So if he's playing, that means this is his first game. This is a tough first game.
You might see a lot of Travis Kelce.
You might see a lot of Travis Kelce, a lot of Juju Smith-Schuster in that slot.
Well,
so it's going to be tough for him. So he's my defensive X factor for them, like those two players.
And one thing I said about Avonte Maddox was outside of covering a Travis Kelce, he's going to have to cover a Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yep.
They're going to put him in the slot. And that's a big body. That's a 6'1", 220 pound. So you better make sure you eat your Cheerios and your Wheaties and everything you need.
I think he has turf toe. If I'm remembering his injury correctly, he has turf toe, which means that your agility is not the same. It won't be for a while. Like it's just not. You can play, but side to side, you would not be
the same.
You once were. Not immediately, at least.
Zay, Philadelphia Eagle X factors offensively.
Offensively, Jalen Hurts shoulder. Because if that's what it is. Hey, I'm coming right at it. So it's a shoulder. I went back. I looking at some of his throws. Wanted to see what the Niners were doing defensively, but I went back and looked at his throws and some of the, the tweaks, even at the Giants game. It looked like I said, his throws look a bit funky, and I think Kansas City is good enough. I think Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, they're going to be smart enough to draw up some plays, and they're going to be able to put up points. I think they're going to put up points. I think both teams are going to be able to they're going to have to score. Both teams are going to have to score. So I think Kansas City, they can put up 27 to 30 points. So if that's the case, Philadelphia is going to have to be able to obviously match that. And I think some of that's going to have to come through the passing game. I think Kansas City know that. Everybody knows Philadelphia wants to run the football. They do a damn good job at it. It starts up front. We talk about Lane Johnson. We talk about Jason Kelce. They got a great offensive line. But in terms of quarterbacking and dropping back, they're still as great as a season that Philadelphia's offense has had and Jalen Hurts has had himself. There are still doubters, players, commentators, analysts around the league that's like, can Jalen Hurts drop back 30, 35, 40 times and sling it all across the yard? And it's like, I don't think he's going to do that.
We were just talking about that with Asif last few minutes ago.
I don't think Philadelphia's going to ask him to drop back 40 times today and throw the ball. But I do think there's going to be some throws that's going to have to be made in some critical third down, some critical moments in the red zone. These critical moments, we always point out in the Super Bowl, there's a couple plays that we can – it's crazy. In the Super Bowl, there's standout plays that we can draw back and look back at second quarter, the middle of the third quarter, where we're like, wow, that play was made. That could have been a game changer. So I look at if Jalen Hurts shoulder, if he can – let's see how that ball comes out. Let's see the rotation of the ball. Let's see what kind of reads and aggressions he's making. Can Kansas City get after him a little bit and aggravate that shoulder even more? I think that's a big thing. So Jalen Hurts shoulder offensively for the Eagles. I think defensively, you guys mentioned it. Avonte Maddox, I talked about them not having their nickel corner when he first went out in the regular season. I thought that was a huge advantage for Dallas the second time they played. You look at, we talk about Juju Smith-Schuster, we talk about Kadarius Toney, and we're obviously talking about Travis Kelce. You look at offensively what Kansas City wants to do. A lot of the offensive schemes, it's for Kelce. Like they're scheming up, they're dialing up and they're scheming up Kelce. They're trying to get him the football. I think if Avonte Maddox, is he playing? He's playing, right?
As far as
he's playing, he's confirmed. He's playing. Yeah, he's playing.
Okay, because I know he hasn't played in a while.
Yeah, wow.
This would be the first game. This is a tall task. I think this defensive line, it's really reminiscent of Tampa Bay's defensive line that Kansas City had to deal with a couple years back, where they got the edge rushers, they got the guys up front, the meat and potatoes up front. So I'm looking at that. I'm looking at the secondary for both teams, but in particular, the slot position, the slot corners of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So, real quick, guys, before we get you out of here, we went over some of our storylines. We went over some of our X factors.
Predictions.
We need a prediction from you. So, each one of you, who do you think wins this game? Give me a reason why they win and give me a score. I guess we can start with you, Ron. Who wins, why, and a score?
I'm picking the Eagles because I want to jinx them. I'm putting them at 28-24. All these games basically are 4-point games. I'm like, it has to fall in that 4-point mark. The Eagles are the better team. I mean, the storyline this week has been, the Eagles are better at everything but quarterback. So, and that's
and head coach,
quarterback and coaching,
and head coach.
Yeah.
So, but at least the players wise, every position they're like, all right, win. So it's just I'm going to pick them because I've been picking against them. They've been winning, so I'm gonna try something different. Again, 28-24. I think it's gonna be a 4-point game. I think it's like most of the Chiefs' wins or losses are always a 4-point game. That was a stat I saw. I think Nick Wright had. So I want to make sure it falls within that 4 or less category.
Well, I'm gonna take Kansas City. I'm gonna go 31-27. I'm going to do 31-27. And here's why. You guys just mentioned it. Philadelphia, they got 7. If you count the Pro Bowl alternates, they had 17 Pro Bowlers. Amazing. Yeah. I mean, they've done a great job with retooling and rehauling this roster and keeping some of the notable veteran guys. They have advantages pretty much in every unit. A lot, most unit, like you point to, it swings in Philly's direction. I just think, as I talked about, because that was my X factor for Philadelphia offensively. I think Patrick Mahomes' ankle is a little bit more healthier, it's Patrick Mahomes, so I trust it. This is going against the grain for 2 things. Statistically, no team has won the Super Bowl when one player commands at least 15% of the team's salary cap. Patrick Mahomes commands 17% of the team's salary cap. Mm-hmm. Also, no MVP, no quarterback that's won MVP.
A great stat.
Has won the Super Bowl. So we have 2 anomalies. If two things I'm going against the curve with. If I'm gonna go against the curve, guess who I'm gonna choose to go against the curve with? I'm gonna go with
great stat. Yeah. That is a great stat, bro.
So that's how you do it. So I'm going against the grain and against the curve with Patrick Mahomes. I think he's going to over that, and it can very well be an anomaly. But it's a huge stat. It's a stat that I continuously talk about and look at in terms of salary cap and so forth. In Kansas City, I'm going to go with them. I'm going with them because I think Mahomes will make more plays. I think Mahomes will be able to make the throws that they need down the stretch, put them in those, give it. This will be the best offense that Philadelphia has faced.
That's a fact.
This would be the best offense that they have faced. And like I said, I don't want to take anything away from them. But you look at their regular season schedule, you look at their postseason schedule, there ain't too many Pro Bowl quarterbacks and high-level offenses, high-octane offenses that they have played. This is by far, I'm looking at the coaching advantage, the experience advantage, and the quarterback advantage. Philadelphia, they have the talent advantage. I think Kansas City have the advantages in the 2 most important spots.
Most definitely. Wow. So, I mean, honestly, man, you guys gave some good insight, and we can go all day just talking about this matchup and other topics in the National Football League. But before we let you guys go, shout out your individual shows and how fans can reach and connect with you guys.
Well, I have franchise mode, starts with a P, so PH, and then, the rest how you spell franchise, so instead of an F, a PH. Anyway, so I have franchise mode. We're actually streaming tomorrow at 9 p.m. It's like 11. I'm doing an interview with this motivational speaker, so that should be a cool little wrinkle to franchise mode. Usually we stream I can't with this comment. every Sunday, every Monday.
Hey, King, you're getting a little questionable now.
Oh my God!
Yeah, our show too. So our show, a little rebrand, kind of just like like this show did. So we'll be back when we have some more of our I's dotted. So the M&R show as well on YouTube.
Well, Ron, you let King tell it. Hey, you got all your
Man.
This man's a fool.
Acted up.
Oh my goodness! So obviously, I be on here a lot, as you guys mentioned, but you can find my podcast. I have a podcast. You can find it on any DSP, any tool, any app you use to listen to a podcast, whether that's Apple, Spotify, whatever. It's called the Isaiah Kid Podcast. You can literally Isaiah Kid. My Instagram, my Twitter is at Isaiah Kid Pod. On Twitter, and then on IG, you can follow me and look at certain things I post. I might do a little, a little daily post or whatever. But it's Zay with 2 Y's _.k. So you can go follow that, and you can see when I upload and so forth. I'm usually on here too, so catch me here.
Right, exactly, right. Man, look, he can go and add this to the motherfucking resume.
Hey, Kenny, by the way, great rebrand too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The rebrand.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes,
for sure.
Awesome.
I love the TikTok.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Kenny going stupid.
I worked real hard on it, so I appreciate the kudos.
Man, obviously we definitely appreciate you guys, man. As I was saying before you all came on, man, I really admire the both of you guys and what you guys are doing in the sports realm and in the field, man. You guys are 2 young cats, 2 young African Americans that are tearing it up right now, and I see nothing but the greatest of things in you guys' future, man. You guys are both in school getting your education. I mean, nothing but positive things to say about you, and nothing but positivity heading you guys' way. So much love to you guys, and nothing but peace and blessings, and that all your aspirations and goals are reached in the future, man. Obviously, we're gonna see you guys on real soon. Actually, we're gonna be getting. I'm gonna throw it out there. We're gonna transition a little bit. We're gonna be getting heavy into this basketball, so I'm gonna have both of you guys back on in the very near future, okay? Because we're gonna be diving heavy into this basketball, moving forward here in the near future, man. But like I said, I just wanted to publicly say, man, we definitely admire you guys, and we definitely appreciate you guys for real, man.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on for sure.
Thanks for taking some time, fellas.
No problem. Greatly appreciate it.
No doubt. All right, here it is, man. Running Isaiah. Much love.
All right.
See you guys soon. So there you guys have it. Those were our guests. We have Mr. Asaph, and then we got Ron and Isaiah, 2 regulars. You guys see them all the time and stuff, and we connect with them not only on Rooted in Sports, but Rooted in Sports community. So a lot of inside jokes, a lot of laughs. But it's always
they're both 2 really, really good dudes, man. Both heading in the right direction, man. And like I said, man, once again, nothing but the utmost love and respect and admiration for both of those guys, man. And you're gonna see both of them back on here very soon.
Mm-hmm, most definitely. So I guess before we close out, our predictions, so I will let you go first, and then I'll finish it out. And yeah.
All right. First of all, let me say that I think this will be an extremely entertaining game. This, I'm not gonna lie, man. This is probably one of the hardest Super Bowls for me to predict in some years. In some years, this one's been. A lot of times in these Super Bowls, sometimes I just feel like I just get a gut feeling about a team. I don't have that in the Super Bowl.
Right.
Like I think obviously on paper, Philadelphia is the better, more talented team. However, Kansas City has the better coach. They have the better quarterback. And that duo that they have, you just cannot count them out. Anything is possible with those 2 guys out there. With that being said, I think Philadelphia is going to get off to a blazing start. I think they're going to jump out and get a pretty solid lead. And then I think you're going to see some second half adjustments. And I think you're going to see Patrick Mahomes come on in the second half like a bat out of hell. I think it's going to come down to the very last possession but I kind of agree with Asif. I think that the Eagles are going to actually get the stop that they need on the very last possession. And so I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles as well. I'm going to go Eagles, and I'm going to say 34-30 Philadelphia Eagles. And curveball, Super Bowl MVP, I'm going to say Miles Sanders will be the Super Bowl MVP.
Interesting. And I felt like you would have this convoluted way of just eventually saying you were going to pick the Eagles, which is what the hell you just did. I'm not going to do all that. I'm not going to do all the extras. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, I truly believe that while Philly is the better team on paper, championship pedigree, it exists. Whether we want to admit it or not, it's a thing. It exists.
Agreed.
And this is a team that is used to performing on this big stage. They just overcame who was their arch nemesis, who's been a thorn in their side, the Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously, there were some questionable calls, but they were able to muster up the strength to ultimately come out and win that football game and make the necessary stops.
Yep.
I think this City team, and not only did they finish number one in the AFC, but they had a lot of games where they got punched in the mouth and they got pushed. One of their worst losses of the season was, I guess they just went in, they played Indianapolis and they thought that they were just going to walk all over them, and they lost that game early in the season.
Yep.
They played, the Texans back half of the season, and the Texans it took for them to come back to get the Texans into overtime to beat them. So this is a Kansas City team that is a little less talented than what we've seen before, but they're a lot more balanced. Defensively, they're a lot more stout. Pass rush is better. Offensive line has improved significantly than what it's been in years past. And they have a running game for the first time that they really haven't had in years past. They're just so much more complete of a unit, and they've shown that they can win every single way. So I think that Philadelphia is a little bit at a deficit because not only do they not have that championship experience, but they haven't had to overcome the same adversity that Kansas City's had to overcome to get to this point. So that being said, I'm going to take Kansas City. I would do more, but I'm going to go ahead and say 34-28. I think that you'll see Patrick Mahomes and you'll see Andy Reid find ways to pick on this defense and really get some mismatches going. And the thing about Kansas City is they're going to put so much pressure on the opposite offense. And I think where Jalen Hurts is right now in his progression, I just don't think that he has it right now to really dominate a game with his arm. I don't think he's there yet. I think he's getting there, but he's just not there yet. Whereas Pat, you can ask Pat to throw the ball 50 times a game. He's going to be like, okay, that's it. Like it's just there for it.
Yeah.
And, so I think that that's going to come into play. And I think Kansas City's defense will play a little bit better than what we suspect. They've had some weaknesses, but once again, just watching performed in that Cincinnati matchup, I think is going to be the big difference. So I'm going to take Kansas City, and I'm going to take them 34-28.
And I'm assuming that you have Mahomes as your Super Bowl MVP.
Of course, yeah, of course. He has to. Here's the thing. He is probably one of the only guys in the league that can answer the bell every single week.
Yeah.
Like it's just, and it's tough. It's hard to find players. It's kind of like looking at college ball and a guy that they compare to Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams has to be a god every single week for USC, right? And so you don't find players that often that every week they're like, oh, don't worry, put it on me, I got it, and that's what Pat is for them. So, it's going to be a very, very interesting. And plus, Andy Reid, I think that Tampa Bay matchup a few years ago prepared their more experience. Well, I think that they learned a lot from it. So they're not going to put Pat in the offense in the same situations that they did in that game because they understand that this is a unit that can pressure the quarterback. Mm-hmm. So look for them to do some misdirection, some screens. They're going to really find a way to stymie this blitz and slow them down. So it's going to be fun to watch. But I got Kansas City.
Yeah, I can totally see the game, going in that manner, man. Like I said, this was normally I get a gut feeling in these games, but for this one, this is about I don't know. This one is probably one of the harder games for me to predict As a matter of fact, and I think Philly's the betting favorite. If I was a bettor, I'm taking Kansas City in the points. Like, I mean, this is going to be a phenomenal game, a very close game. I'm excited. I can't wait for it. Bro, where are you watching the game at, man? You got any special plans or?
You know, I have no special plans. This year, I'm actually kind of playing it very simple. I've had a lot of stuff going on and a lot of planning. Still got to do some other stuff for the other podcasts. So I think I'm just gonna play it cool. Might just watch it in my house. You know, just kind of chill, chillax, and just kind of get mentally ready for the upcoming week. But what about you?
One of my wife's friends is having a little shindig for the Super Bowl. So as soon as we get off here, I'm probably gonna get prepared and head over there and just watch it over there and just enjoy it a little bit, man. So yeah, but I'm very excited about this game. I'm gonna be super locked in. I'm gonna probably hop in the sports chat. I know our sports chat is probably gonna be booming.
That's gonna be booming.
I'm gonna probably get in there and talk a lot of crap, man. So yeah, I'm definitely happy for it. But yeah, that's it, man. Yet another successful episode. First year in the way, and I just wanted to say, what I'm saying, for those that are watching, that are gonna watch, what I'm saying, this dude Kenny, this is like another brother to me. I love this dude. Me and this dude connected from the moment we met in the service.
Seriously,
we connected on our love of sports, and it's just been a beautiful friendship, a beautiful brotherhood ever since. And publicly, I just want to say, I love this dude and I appreciate you and this opportunity. And I miss you. I wish you nothing but the utmost peace and blessings, and that you are able to accomplish all of your goals that you have set forth, man. And to that, I just want to say, don't ask me what I got in my glass, but to that, I just want to say salute to you, brother.
It's a little juice.
And
1 year.
1 year. Yes,
1 year in existence. 100%. It's my brother too. I love him to death.
And behind that, man, go ahead and just go ahead and talk about the new rebrand and what people can look for, man. Go ahead and give it to them.
Nothing. Sports Exclusive Podcast. You guys have been seeing the content. It's been it's a weekly show now. The Break Room Breakdown, which was the old iteration of the show, was bi-weekly. But we've ramped it up. My new producer demanded more of me. So new similar format, a little bit more crisp, a little bit more focused. But we're engaging all sports. So one episode you may hear me talking about football. The next episode you may hear me talking about water polo. Who knows? But what we're doing is we're really diving in to different areas of sports that we never dove into before. So it's just very expansive, education based, a lot of discovery. And then, some episodes, it may just be me. And in the next episode, I have a guest on kind of breaking down the sport and just, making some things fun for it. So look for the episodes every Wednesday. I put posts up and put clips up of the show, and look for, I might put a clip up tonight. We'll see what happens of episode 4, which will be debuting on Wednesday morning. So Sports Exclusive Podcast, look out for it, guys, every Wednesday.
I was just going to say, he's already dropped some content. So you guys go ahead, head to YouTube or whatnot, check that out. You can also follow him individually on Instagram. That's Tiberius, the same way you see it spelled, scrolling across the bottom of the screen here. It's going to be Tiberius519. That's his Instagram handle, Tiberius519. Mine is iSwan_0623. Once again, that's iSwan_0623. And also, please give the Rooted in Sports Instagram handle a follow, man. That's just simply Rooted in Sports. Obviously, like and subscribe to us right here at Rooted in Sports on YouTube, and it's simply just Rooted in Sports. Man, it's been an awesome year.
It has.
It's been fun, and the show will not stop. We're gonna keep on trucking, and yeah, man, there it is, man. Much love. Yeah,
enjoy
man,
the Super Bowl.
God bless. Please enjoy the Super Bowl. Please be safe out there, and we will see you guys Tuesday with a packed show on Tuesday, man. Between this and the trade deadline, we got a lot to cover.
We sure do.
We'll see you guys on Tuesday, man. Y'all tune in. Much love. God bless. We'll catch y'all then.
Talk to you guys soon.